Let's try this again. We're speaking on the flow state. What is the flow state and why does it matter? For me, flow is a positive, transformative experience, a state where we grow and connect. I set out to explore these events not through textbooks or existing research, but through the conversations and experiences with others. I wanted to understand how flow impacts us, individually and collectively. To understand the flow state, I turn to the experiences of others, people who live their passions and find flow in unique ways. Each of them shared a glimpse of how flow shows up in their lives, from moments of adrenaline and challenge to harmony of a group functioning like a well-oiled machine. Let's meet them and hear their stories. We're suited up. We're entering the flow state. So yeah, Max, what's the activity we're doing? What's going on?
Bridge jumping. Yeah, undisclosed spot. It's still here. Bridge stands. We're getting fired up. Just kind of free falling, in control if we can.
Always a fun bridged session, but it's definitely a spooky one because having the takeoff just such a skinny balance beam, it adds that whole other fear factor of like, possibly slipping and falling to the deck and not making it into the water. But yeah, regardless, that kind of just enhances the adrenaline that we feel on the takeoff. A jump or a bridge where you're chilling, but with this jump there's that extra level to it. So yeah, we had a couple jumps where we were definitely pretty uncomfortable and experiencing some nerves. Yeah, the adrenaline is really intense right now. Trying something that could go really wrong, but also could be super sick. So steps that I go through right now is I just feel my heart racing and just take a big breath. And, just tell myself I'm going to land on my feet. I'm going to lace this trick. Sometimes I give the count, but usually my mind just goes blank at this point, and I just go for it. I go dub gainer. On this one, I really need to huck and just be powerful.
Yeah, doggy. Get it.
Try to interpret that as flow and really be in that moment. But a lot of times it's like we just want to get this jump done with because we know our skill level. We know that, it's just a matter of pushing past that feeling and doing the trick because we've done these tricks hundreds of times now. Unless it is a new trick, unless we are trying something new, which at that point, then we really have to focus up and really hone in. But with some of these tricks that are basically muscle memory at this point, it's still important to visualize and, take a sec before your heart rate takes control, closing your eyes and just taking a deep breath before you drop in. In this video, I'll share these stories and insights. Together, we'll explore how the flow state shapes our lives, our relationships, and the community we build. Let's begin. So yeah, come along with us and let's investigate flow.
Yeah. Yo. This is Max Jacob. And yeah, speaking on flow, for me, flow is just being fully present. And I associate it a lot with physical activity, but it can be in many spots. It's just when I'm locked in, mind is not really thinking much, just performing, and yeah, I feel happy in the flow state. It feels pretty free. I don't know, we're flowing. The session continues. Yeah. We're trying to get creative right now.
Max, how are you feeling? Like, are you nervous? How are the nerves feeling? What's going on with just the whole adrenaline?
It seems like a fake school project. No, it's churning. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, not really wanting to, but absolutely wanting to.
This is good, sitting and uncomfy up here. Yeah. Just minutes fucking shaking. Yeah. Just call your drop.
we are scared doing this, and it can sound like, oh, like sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to, but it's like I do, and it's like the thing I love most is pushing these limits and feeling this fear and getting this adrenaline. This is a survival moment. Your body's taking energy away from the non-important, and that is your digestion, that is all sorts of little things, but it's also intrusive thoughts and stuff that's going to distract you from survival. It relaxes your brain. It's like a clear button. You, in the moment, it feels great. I mean, lots of the ones I go for, it feels like flying. And then you get done and I feel accomplished and I feel proud of myself. Yeah, I'm in it for my friends, I'm in for everybody, but I'm gonna feel best when I'm doing the best I can and trying to be a good influence and looking out for people I care about. Do everything in the way that I want to and get out and do things that I love to do every day. So I think in that sense, I'm able to get into these flow states on the daily because I'm choosing to do things I'm passionate about. I love line choice. I often find myself trying to be different with lines, and that depends on the sport, but there's always a new way to look, and I see what I want and I go for it. And often I'm looking for what's not seen. How can I hit this differently? Where can I scare myself? Where can I get into something really tight or scary? And then you lock in. I'm going to play to my strong suits with creativity. I think that creativity is a balance between having these ideas and interpreting what you're seeing and choosing how you're going to approach it. Kitchen sink. It's Catterday. Let's get it. Yeah, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I think that, you know, it can be thought of as the mental side of flow and the physical side, and the boundary between them is impossible to define, but there is a chemical reaction happening in our body that feels great. Dude, I was shook. After the first hit, I got pretty bodied right off the rip. Was kind of shook, upset, and then tried to hone in on the creativity, and probably will go do some big ones again to shut her down. But yeah, tried to warm up with some more new stuff, you know? There's always new, smaller stuff to get in there too. Get uncomfy, get on a new access. Yep. Yeah, it's a cool one. It's easy to get locked into a trick bag and think that you've done every trick, you know, kind of out of tricks, scared to do the next bigger thing. There's always a variation, which is super sick. When you're comfy, you are able to be more thoughtful about what you're doing. You're not just gripping on for life, hoping to make it through. A little bit of stress can go away, which stress can sometimes pull you out of the flow. So that goes away, you're more in it. I also find when I'm playing at a level a little bit below my skill level, that can also be really creative. It's like you are overly confident, you know exactly what you're doing, so you're fiending a little bit for that scariness and that present, and you're looking for what's next, and it can make you think outside of the box. Recently, I think what has been pulling me out of the flow state the most is thoughts of physical consequences and taking care of my body, which is a weird one to balance because, yeah, I love my body and I want to be a lifelong enjoyer of activities and what this world has to offer. I think that trusting myself is really big, and that can be where I can struggle most, or have been recently, is we're doing high-risk activities lots of this time. That's where our hearts lie. People like me and Josh and all sorts of action sports people, and yeah, we're doing high-risk stuff. If you're not trusting yourself, you're not in the present, you're thinking about the consequences. So being trusting in your body, being confident in your physical condition, being confident in your headspace, going into trying to go new trick, going into dropping in on some steep, high-risk terrain is huge. Absolutely stoked on where I am, so letting go of regret and just being confident in decisions, I think, is the biggest part of growth for me right now. That is super helpful in staying in the present throughout life, is trying to let go of the worries about what other people are thinking about you. Yeah, I think dancing's another one. Dancing and singing, and that's a fun one because there can be this, more embarrassment or anxiety around singing and dancing or rapping. What we've been trying to do some freestyle rapping, poetry stuff lately, and it's like you can really flow through that if you're willing to let go and just be confident that what you're doing is good. And there's no reason to be scared. So when I can tap into that, dancing is like, it's an epic flow state. It ain't your time. Don't swim, don't do it, man. Don't swim, it ain't part of the plan. There's sieves and rocks and shit. You know what? My boy can't spit. For me, biggest things I've been doing, and not all of them consciously, but been just trying to involve in my life to stay motivated, to get out of my comfort zone, is, I'd say, number one, community. Josh right here, fucking epic, always getting me out, together, always just wanting to get out, rallying other boys, there's no excuses if it's a group, and then tapping into what is exciting me at that time, like not feeling like I have to force pushing my motivation for something, like just really getting involved in what I'm into. The past month I've been so fired up kayaking, and which I've done for years and never done it as consistently and stuff, and it's like, I'm pushing my comfort zone and did some heavier stuff. And that's also back to the community where friends are like, come do this, you got this. And I'm like, you actually think I got that? And trusting friends and having people there that, they know what to do and situations go wrong.
Across these conversations, one theme stood out: the power of stepping outside our comfort zone. Flow often begins where comfort ends, and the people around us play a vital role in encouraging us to take that leap. This idea of community kept coming back, how it lifts us up, challenges us, and makes a space for growth.
My name's Eileen, and we are going kayaking. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about kayaking is you're not really in control at all. You're just reacting the whole time. It's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely you're locked in the one your body and mind, but also with the river. That part I really love.
Cool.
Yo! Just have a lot of energy. I feel like I'm a pretty high energy person. But I really do just place a lot of value on connections with friends and being able to build that in multiple different kind of facets of life. And I think especially with kayaking, I feel like for me, finding that flow is just that sense of total connectedness with your mind, body, and environment, and where it just feels so natural to be where you are doing what you're doing. And I guess kind of having that tunnel vision of that is where you are most present and grounded and so involved in whatever activity that is. I feel at the top of a rapid, I'm usually nervous but excited. You just have so much adrenaline. Especially on the river, there's often, for the bigger things, a actual horizon line of you can't necessarily see what's on the other side. And I feel for me, that moment before, there are so many different emotions of just fear, excitement, and maybe even sometimes a little anxiety, but just also that pure joy of knowing you're about to do something really cool. And I think that part of like having so many emotions at once and having to figure out like how you're going to manage that to get yourself downriver is part of what gets you into flow. Like, I feel like there's so much going on in your brain where you just have to fully shut it all out and you are just in the moment, like taking your line and just paddling. And I think for me, like that moment of like coming over and like as soon as you leave the eddy, like I feel like all those little voices are kind of gone from me, where it's like, okay, you are paddling now, like you are going downriver. If you end up upside down, you're gonna roll back up and you're gonna make it to the next eddy. And I feel like for me, there's just that moment where it's so quiet. And like, I feel like for me, I always have little voices and I'm like always talking and always super excited. And it's a really cool moment for me kayaking when I can just fully shut all of it off and literally just be so present that all that I'm thinking about is like where my next paddle stroke is going. A really big part of I know a big part of kayaking is just that mental game of like, you have to make some tough calls when you are literally upside down getting worked in a hole or like in a really weird boil, and you have to decide what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. And that part is so challenging, just to like maintain your composure, to stay calm when you are in a really high stress environment. Just really trying to intentionally put yourself in uncomfortable situations to almost like build that resiliency to the discomfort. I am so excited to see anyone in a kayak. Like, I want to see all of my friends on the water and get them downstream safely, but also to just like see that passion grow so quickly in people. Where like, if you have been kayaking for 5-10 years, like you already know what it's about. You like have that drive. There's a reason you keep doing it. But to see that like new passion, like even with you, where like you were coming up and you were so stoked, like to see that is so cool in other people, and to just like build that up as a group, because it does also just like inherently build trust between people. Even with 12 strangers on the Gallatin, like there's just that feeling of like knowing you have each other's back. I think that like sense of community flow where like we all just made it through this, we all had different lines, but we like got to the bottom, and just have that like stoke and that like sheer bliss of like being on the water together. I feel like that really contributes to that sense of flow too. And I think like for me, running bigger rapids and bigger features, like having people to run it with is a huge part of that. And I think like really I feel like when I'm thinking about the flow state, I'm kind of thinking about like the eddy at the top, the eddy at the bottom, and I feel like in between is where I find that flow. But also a huge part of that is having that like community effort to one, be out there in the first place, know you're gonna work together to yes achieve that individual flow, but also there is no better feeling than being out there running hard stuff with your best friends. Like that is just so cool to get like on the river and have that shared energy. Like I think there's a huge component of community flow, especially in kayaking.
Yeah, I especially felt it. You know, it was my very second time being on the water and with like tons of strangers that I've never met, and then by the end of it we're all like best friends and having a blast. You know, it's really cool to be and have these activities that bring you really close. And yeah, I think it's through that flow state and just through the joy and the passion behind that sport that allows it.
Being on the river developed our friendship so deeply, so quickly, just because you are finding flow together. Like you, no matter what, even if that is a community flow or individual flow, like you're experiencing that at the same time in the same places. And I think that deepens a connection really quickly, where you're experiencing that same energy, that same passion, but kind of reaching flow as a group, but maybe experiencing it individually. But I think that is like, it does just create friendships so quickly and builds relationships that are deeper than just like, I don't know, meeting friends at school and stuff. Like you are in such a different environment, and I think has really impacted the way I even like view friendships and relationships, because it does relate so much to those like trust components and just that like shared passion.
What other aspects kind of play a role to like getting into that focused present moment?
I think for me, a big part of it is confidence. Like how I'm feeling that day, how I'm feeling in my boat. If you are feeling like you are paddling with a good dialed crew, like I feel like you're just able to kind of find that easier, because your brain's a little less preoccupied of like, oh, what if this happens? Like, no, like I know we've got this, we're gonna be good, we're gonna be dialed. And it just builds that confidence to then like not even have to think about it. And when you're like eddying out, you're like, okay, I want to have fun. Like I'm gonna find a line that is gonna be awesome and it's gonna be great, and it just kind of like puts that fear voice a little bit like down almost. But then going in with like intention, I think that is huge for me to like find flow state. Being that creative aspect on something you're so familiar with, and also just figuring out like everyone has their own style of paddling and like their own like parts of paddling that they kind of gravitate towards. Like some people really love surf waves, some people really love those eddy lines, some people really just love river running, and I feel like I'm still kind of developing that style. But just seeing how other people's relationship with the river like works is really cool in that way of like they are looking for good eddy lines, or they are looking for surf waves, or this person's looking for a really cool boof. Like everyone reads the water a little differently, and I think that part of kayaking is so cool, especially as a group, to kind of see how people find, I guess, like different flow on the river.
Really thank you for your role in our community, and do you have any other thoughts or
just thank you for even like bringing this conversation to light. I think it's so cool to be able to talk about this side of kayaking, and I love talking about it because I feel like people get so excited about running stouts and running huge things, and that's super cool too. And I love talking about waterfalls any day, but I think talking about like the community aspect in finding our flow state and just having gratitude for that, that's a huge thing. I feel like I haven't even talked about that, but that's okay. I think thank you for bringing this about.
Recording it all?
we are recording it?
All right. My name is Olivia Lynch. I consent to this interview about the flow state of hacky sack with Josh Lucas. Please tell me that works. Okay. I feel like when I can bring people together and just let them be themselves, that's when they can get in the group flow state, and that's when they can really just, everything jives, everything clicks. Like it's greasy, it's good, it's perfect. I love it. Hacky sack is awesome. It's like my break in between my classes. I'd like come in here and eat lunch and hang out with the homies, and I've made some really good friends through it. I love it.
Towards hacky sacking, what are some conditions that allow you personally to get into the flow state, or like a group to get into the flow state?
I think keeping the vibe high. I think keeping the energy positive, and not talking badly, not gossiping, not being on your phone, like fully interacting with people around you, bringing people up and inviting them into something, and setting a low expectation of like, we don't think you need to be amazing. We don't there's no test to pass. There's no nothing. Like, it's just come and enjoy your day with us. Come and have fun with us. And I guess maybe hopefully subconsciously that lets people do the same for others. Of like, look, you can have fun with us, and you can go and spread that in your daily life. If you're having a bad day, or if you're stressed, or if you just had an exam, like, SAC is the answer. Like, it's oh my God, I need to pick me up. I just had a terrible exam. Like, I need to go SAC. I need to go release some of this energy that is pent up in my body. I need to go laugh with other people because I needed to move. And once I moved, everything everything got really quiet in my brain. And I was just having fun. And I was just primally enjoying myself. Yeah. I'm interacting with my environment. I was happy. I felt light and full of energy and gratitude for the world, and felt like I fit in, like I had a place in my surroundings and I fit into what I was doing. And yeah, just like an overwhelming sense of gratitude for just everything that led up to that moment. It was like, oh my God, I'm able-bodied and I'm clear-headed and I'm happy and I have energy. And like I said with flow and passion, like if you have a passion, flow will follow, growth will follow. And you know, if your end goal is to get really good, then maybe you won't grow. But if your goal is to enjoy yourself, then like, yeah, I find when I'm enjoying myself, I'm trying way more new things, and I'm doing things I thought I couldn't do just because I'm having fun with it, and I'm not like stressing about, oh, but that girl's better than me. Like, who cares? I think if you spend enough time with people, you will slip into this synchronous, like nobody even has to say anything, and you're just like, everything is lining up perfectly, and it just feels so good. And you'll know that feeling if you've had it.
Epic. Yeah, what brings you joy with hacky sacking?
Being able to make stupid jokes with people that I would normally never interact with in my daily walk of life. Like just random funny people that are all in the same space for the same reason, from all different backgrounds.
When people do something unique, you like, it's just this outburst of like incredible energy from everyone else. And I think the hacky sack promotes that like diversity of creativity in a physical way. Take people as they are and see the good, and by doing so you're going to bring out the best in them, because they're not trying to set, or they're not trying to hit any expectation that you set, or it's just a free space to go and do whatever you want and dress however you want and act all weird. And so last year I started this thing called Creative Night, and I'd have friends come over to my house every Monday, and I'd make them a big pot of soup from random stuff I had in my fridge. And I challenged them to all bring something that they had created that week, or they were maybe afraid to share, or like a poem or a song or like physical art. And I met so many friends through that, and had so many people tell me like I've never had a place to share my art, and I've never had like feedback in this way. And it was just such a cool community feeling, and I made so many friendships. And so I'm really proud of that, of where like, oh, I can't find a creative community, I'll just make one. I think hack is unique because it's a group flow. Like if one person's out of sync, you can feel it. And it just really connects people in a different way than singular flow. Mm-hmm. So I love that. But yeah, I think when other people are in the flow in SAC, it helps me find it too. It's a community flow. I think flow follows passion for sure. Like I was so bad at hacky sack for like 6 months, and it's not like a overnight thing, it's a progression. But because I loved it, and because I had that community and the laughs and the happy people, it is so easy to be passionate about it and enjoy my time with it. Yeah. And then flow follows for sure. Yeah. Passion and flow, they're all intertwined. SAC's a unique thing. It's a community. That's what community is for, is getting you out of your own head and making you realize school's not the biggest deal in the world. Like it's life is good. Life is fun and fair, and it will all be okay in the end. Because you're probably not going to remember the assignment that you did, but you're going to remember the really fun SAC day when the ground was super wet and everyone was sliding on the ground, and you got like a triple hack, and just, it brings like a true happiness to a day that I feel like is kind of rare in school.
Yeah. Through interviews with 5 incredible individuals, I found a common thread: community. It's the people around us, the ones who share our passion, lift us up, and create space for us to thrive, who help us access the flow state.
But there's one that I like hold near and dear, and it's to the practice of being in the flow. Like, you don't just happen upon flow. Like I said, flow is a choice, and make it part of your everyday life, and you're gonna see some big things happen, big changes.
Yeah. Find your flow, get out every day, and I mean every day. What makes me the most happy about where my flow has taken me is absolutely the friendships and communities it's brought me into. sharing these moments, people seeing these strengths in you when you're in your flow state, and seeing this passion and positivity you can have for the world in that position is awesome. And I think it really brings people together. So that's what I am most grateful to take away from this side of life.
Through these stories, one realization became clear. Flow isn't just about the activity or the individual. It's about the environment, the people who share our passion and create space for us to thrive. Community is the thread that ties it all together. It is the shared moment of flow, the connections formed in those spaces that we grow and deepen our relationships. So as you think about your own experience with flow, ask yourself, how can you create space for others to find their flow? And who in your life has helped you find yours?